Oh boy, hello everybody. Oh, I hope you all had a good November. It has been a while. It has been a long while. Hello, all you lovely people. Welcome to Wireheads, a cyberpunk red podcast that tends to try to be very consistent about things, unless suddenly a bunch of life events are happening. So, yes, our topic today is called Stories of the Road. But before we get into what Stories of the Road is, we need to talk about other stories of what got us here. Anyway, I am your hostess, Diamond Dust, and as always, with me every week, we have...
Hi.
My co-host.
Hi, I'm Emmerron. I'm the problem.
We both guys seem problematic.
I am the problem. Well, no, my schedule being as chaotic as it was is almost, I would argue, the vast majority of the reason why we have not had a podcast in a month. So those of you who are part of games with me at StartPlaying know that schedule's been no better. And the reason for that is my cousin...
For societal danger, your mic is doing things.
My mic is a problem, is it? Hold on. Did I reset my computer again? I could have. It's quite possible. Hold on. Allow me to fix that. I have reset my computer again recently and not changed it. Hold on. There we go. Now my mic should be fine. But yeah, see, this is the thing. It only picks this up on stream. So if I'm talking to you in Discord, if I'm doing anything else, it's fine. Like, I even recorded stuff on my computer yesterday. We'll get into that later. And things were fine. So I have no idea. But thank you for the heads up. This should be fixed now.
Yeah. So from the top.
I mean, we don't even need it from the top. It's so much. So I'm the problem. And now that I can speak with a clear voice, I can explain exactly why. So November went thusly. I don't remember what caused us to miss that first week in November. I think my chops were just dead. Yeah, I think like one or both of us were gassed and or sick, and just needed the day. The tragedy of that, of course, is that the following week, I was on a plane headed to Michigan for my cousin's wedding. Then the week following that, I was in a cabin in the woods in northern Arizona hunting elk. We were not successful because they had a scheduled burn 3 miles up the road. So the first 2 days we were out there. With the third, we got rain the third day, and the first two we had smoke everywhere, thick as fog in the morning. So that was very fun. I'm sure my lungs appreciated that. I was coughing one of them up that first morning. So yeah, that was fun though. I do genuinely mean that. It was still a fun time. Got to spend some quality time with my dad and my brother, and I don't get that many opportunities for that. So well worth it. And then the last weekend, after that, when I thought foolishly at the start of the month that we might be able to run a podcast, surprise, surprise, working for Double Exposure as the RPG coordinator for their Envoy program, it comes with some perks. And one of those is getting positioned with the Marvel team to help their game be run at PAX Unplugged. So I worked with them all weekend. I got to meet the Darrington Press team. Very, very cool to get that opportunity. And I had a lot of fun with the convention. But that was very much a last minute, literally 2 weeks before the convention, that I got tapped for that. So plans changed quickly, as they so often do. And then last weekend, of course, everyone who lives here in America will know, was Thanksgiving. And that is a sacred day for my family. We gather together every year And unlike some families, the popular portrayal these days, where we have like where it's like riddled with weird little interpersonal conflicts and stuff like that. Ours doesn't have a lot of that. So we did that. It was cool because Diamond and her wife got to come and be part of our family Thanksgiving as well. So
I was also very shell shocked by I don't know, upper class neighborhoods. Like
my parents live in a very nice little subsection of a town that is on the edge of the metro area. So like, yeah, they've got mountains in their backyard kind of thing. And so, yeah, it's one of those things that like, it's something they worked hard for. I do not consider what I have to be like, something that I was entitled to by any means, but yeah, they live in a very nice place now because they were working class people as I was growing up in Chicago. So like it was fun. It was honestly pretty funny to watch you process it and to be able to talk about
looking
it.
At the neighbor's house,
Yeah.
like, what do you do with that much house?
Yeah.
What do you do with that much house?
And like, and my parents, yeah, it's funny because my parents' house isn't even the biggest one on that block, not by a long shot.
No, I think your parents' house was like one of the smaller of the bunch.
Yeah, no, theirs is more modest, but yeah, it still looks like something out of Tony Stark's collection of houses. So it's I like their house, but yeah, so we got to go do that. Got to go be on a mountainside for Thanksgiving. At the edge of the valley and get to hang out and do that. So, very, very cool stuff. Very much had a good time. Now we are back though. Finally, life can continue. I've been saying to not only Diamond, but to my wife, and even my parents as they're like pestering me for stuff midweek this week. I'm like, guys, this is my first normal week that I've had my actual schedule be something like fairly consistent since October, which is wild to me that it's been since October that things have been normal. But we're back, we're here, at least until Christmas week, and then that gets a little weird again. But that should be hopefully the only weird week in the next several, where schedules may need to shift around or whatever. So things are looking up is what I'm saying. But yeah, we're back. I'm glad to be back. And actually, those of you who are watching this on Spotify, I hope, we had an issue with our last 2 episodes. So if you did not get notified about the last 2 episodes that we've released, on specifically that platform, or for any of you who are watching us live right now, sometimes watch over on Spotify and we're like, hey, why didn't they post episodes 58 or 59? So we had a very interesting thing happen there, that I literally had to work back and forth for like a month, from like the beginning of October to the end of October. I worked hand in hand with Carl Casey and his team because somehow it wasn't his fault. But
Spotify.
It was, yes, somehow Spotify got it in their head that Carl's music was copyrighted, and they were making our show unlisted because of that. Because we often, pretty much every single episode we've released thus far, we've had Carl Casey's music as our background music. So what are we to do but just try to get them to see our way of things? And eventually it took like, I put in appeals with Spotify. I told Carl about it, and then it was like 3 weeks after I opened my first appeal that we finally got notification that like, oh, we'll let you move ahead, using the music, because I had to send them Carl's license terms as far as like, if you're using my music in your projects, like here's what you got to do, whatever. It was a mess. It was a mess. Corporations don't comprehend
at this point.
Yeah, corporations don't comprehend the public license.
We need to just get an agreement from White Bat of like, yes, these two could use this.
Well, we
at
did.
This rate.
We did, and that's literally why I was DMing him, or why I was emailing him, because I'm like, okay, Carl, so here's the situation, here's what's going on. And he was very nice, like extremely kind about it. Yeah, no, anytime I've had to DM him about anything or email him about anything to like say, hey, Carl, we need to like sort this out. He's both very responsive. Like usually I get a response within a day or two at most. And then like very quick to say like, yeah, here's the problem. My team's looking into it. Like we'll get this sorted on our end as quickly as we can. And it's usually, like I said, another couple days, maybe a week before like something happens, and even then, like that's on the long end. Like this time around, whenever he'd be getting back to me, it'd be within like 2 or 3 days every time. Like, hey, how's it going? Have you heard anything from Spotify? So hopefully, this is our first episode since I have fixed everything with them. Hopefully, this episode does not suffer the same way. We can only hope. We can only hope. But oh my god, the song that just came in on my end is the Dungeon Soup Barbarian theme. I did not realize Carl did Dungeon Soup's music. That's hilarious.
I appreciate you, Carl, for working with us here. My gosh, at this rate, with how much we use Carl's music, it's just like, these two use it a lot. Is it copyright? Anyway.
I mean, look, if Kyle Hill can use it on his stuff, we absolutely are within our rights to use it on ours, because he was using it in his podcast for forever. I would recognize it almost immediately when I tune into office hours. So yeah, like, we should be good. Here's hoping. Like, but this is really trial for that. Is like, are we good? We don't know yet. Not really, but with any luck, this will pass and we'll be good on the other end of it.
Militech Catalyst thinks it's fun. Even if it's not spent with family, it's spent my inside battle tank this year field event. Okay.
So yeah, so good to hear from you as well, Catalyst. Welcome to the stream. It's good to see you.
Then my month of November, compared to Emmerron's wild, trotting across the country, has been more on the home front. The battle with Ashkenazi's billing department is finally, we're seeing the tail end of it. Your girl might be going bankrupt, but at least the corporation's getting fucked out of this one. That's all I gotta say on that end. We're getting stuff figured out on that side. But other than that, I got a stream schedule now. So if Spotify, you ever want to come hang out with me live, come over to my server. I've got some nice graphics of like when all my different episodes, like all my different stuff's gonna be going on. And trying to think what else did I get done this month. I feel like I got something else done this month.
I mean, Red Genesis, you got back on a streaming schedule.
Yeah, Red Genesis, is technically officially over. Congratulations to the Red Genesis crew. I know we're epiloguing next week. We're doing epilogue, but congratulations on your survival.
That's very good. It's rare to see a whole crew survive Cyberpunk. Although at our table it's become, I think, oddly more consistent, which is weird. It's weird to see people get through campaigns.
But that being said, speaking of campaigns and trotting across the country and dealing with hardships and other things like that, I had a thought today, and it was just because it had been passed by me of like, well, Diamond, have you ever considered the following? Road stories, nomads, nomad stories, moving across, North America or wherever else, and making your way to and from places. Now, given the time, we technically, I guess we have that technically with a couple of like 2020 books, Home of the Brave and Euro Tour, but we don't have anything for the Time of the Red at this time. We have some details to what might be going on out there, but not a lot. So I kind of thought about it. We've talked about how to, write campaigns for urban, actual urban cyberpunk. Horseshoes and hand grenades.
It's the only place where close counts. It's horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yes, close enough. Well, then again, it seems like even in Cyberpunk, hand grenades, close enough doesn't count.
It depends. Depends if they got a Reflex coprocessor or a Reflex 8 somehow. That's the only thing that affects that answer. And then an evasion base high enough to care.
So, I suppose, as I was kind of thinking about this, what makes for a good road campaign? Well, first things first, you might be mentioning, well, Diamond, well, what about air or sea campaigns? I don't know an awful lot about seafaring or traveling by air to really give a good talk on that, but I've done some time on the road, and I've thought about it, like the nomads and making their way across the United States. And it's not that, and when I'm talking about a nomad campaign, and Emmerron, I think you agree with me here, you don't have to play a nomad for a nomad campaign.
No, nomads still employ just about every specialty. The role nomad is probably better described as like your vehicle mechanic and driver. Like that's that nomad, just the easier way to say that. But nomad is, if we're thinking about the role, more vehicle tech and driver or pilot, depending on like what specialization your nomad is involved in. But no, nomad convoys, they have netrunners, they've got techs, they've got solos. I think about the only role that I don't see seamlessly fitting in with a nomad campaign, that you probably have to think a little bit more about the answer, is an exec. Execs in a nomad campaign get a little weird. At least if you're trying to make that campaign about the nomad convoy being part of like a family convoy and the players being part of that group. Because an exec could always be part of a convoy as like the client or one of the people being transported, but that's where it gets a little tricky.
Now that you bring that up, that was actually something I was thinking about, was just kind of like some of the ideas that came from collecting the random, and like especially execs. There was a couple things that I saw with exec nomad that it was just like, yeah, this kind of checks out. Let's see, where was it?
And Prepper Jack, it wasn't Thelis, it was the meta key nomads that literally evolved into a corp. So like and this is what I mean. It's not impossible to find room for execs within a nomad focused story. They've got a family that literally by the time of the 70s becomes DTR, who own the giant cargo ships that you see flying overhead in Night City all the time. Meta owns DTR. They're like the majority shareholder of that company.
Because I'm looking at a couple of the options that come from collecting the random, and one of them, which, if you are, mainly exec with nomads, you could be an ambassador, where you and your team is very much you and your team take care of basically dealing with the statics, dealing with the business end of operating the family, because nomad families, as much as some people think they run on goodwill and the power of family, a little bit. But at the end of the day, you still gotta buy fuel. You still have to buy food. You still have to come across all the other goods and services. That surely the family looks out for the people that makes sure that gets handled.
Yeah.
And then one of the other ones, Nomad Exec, the teacher. You've been around the pack for a while, and you have some younglings following you around. So it's very much more your teammates are you are
basically they're like your recently graduated students almost, who you're like showing like this is how the real world works.
Yeah.
That's honestly a really cool one where you're playing more the mentor and less the like demanding overseer of things. It just gets a little, so again, this is where exec gets a little tricky because a lot of their role is baked into as you level up, you get like your health coverage, or you get like access to better housing. So like that's not impossible to do in a nomad setting. It just gets,
I'm sure it could be reflavored, but
but it requires that extra thought behind it to make that make sense. But it, like I said, not impossible, but just if you are looking to start this, this is where we need conversation with the table to really level set that, like, this is the type of campaign I want to start. This gets closer almost to, I know we've talked here on the podcast about team-based campaigns before. So like,
yes,
everyone's on a trauma team, or everyone is on like the NCPD or like a PI beat or something like that. This is more akin to that, where some roles are concerned and you need to be upfront about, like, okay, if you want to play say a lawman or an exec, or even like a fixer, this campaign will create some unique challenges that I will need your help as the player in answering before you can easily select one of these roles, just because of how their abilities rely on certain things, whether they be the nearby cultures or the infrastructure of a city, to really tell that story well. And so we need to come up with how that then looks in the open road, because that is a very different setting for some of those roles.
Yeah, and so one of the other things that I thought about, outside just like, your role in the pack, like not every, like I said before, not every nomad in the nomad pack is a nomad. Like, for example, Wood Chipper, she does have ranks in nomad, but most of her ranks are in fixer. I think to Nat from Street Stories, she has ranks in solo and nomad. So when you look at how your character fits in, of course you'll have to talk about, like in the case of Netrunners, you're definitely probably cracking open servers that have been found while out on the open road. Rocker Boys, Rocker Boys are also another one where it's just like you gotta work with it a little bit. You might be part of the traveling show.
Or a storyteller. I believe that's like a multi-role reflavor, but realistically, like, you can just be that nomad that sits around the campfire and tells stories and has like loyalty amongst the family, and that the fan thing becomes a little more personal. It's no longer just these people that look up to you, and it's very one-way, very transactional in a lot of ways, but rather now you are talking to your family, or the people that your family works with regularly at the very loosest. And that means that these relationships probably matter more than your average fan relationship would.
Yep. So one of the things when it comes to the scope of your campaign, if you are very new to road stories, start small. I mean, you sure a across the NUSA story would sound exciting, but start small. Start with small trips to begin with. Perhaps it's LA. Perhaps it's Night City to LA or Night City to Portland, and
well, Night City to Portland's not. Oh well, I guess that's not that far. I guess comparative to LA.
It's a 2-day trip.
I always forget that LA is further south from where Night City is. I always forget that that's probably actually not that much different than Portland. There is a great one shot for that too. If you guys want to lean up against something like that, which is the cleanup crew that we just got at Gen Con this year. The post Gen Con 2025 DLC that we got with the adventures has that mission takes place starting in a convoy. So you could slightly tweak and reflavor that, but it's very, very good. I know that was the one that, like, when I was talking with GMs, both people I was already friends with, like Diamond, and people who were just more like I only see them at conventions, everyone likes that one. Everyone loved the cleanup crew. They loved running it. And so, like, if you're looking at doing a Nomad type campaign, that's probably a good one to maybe lean up against. If you're not going to do something like Red Chrome Cargo or what was the other Jumpstart kit one where you're stealing cheese?
Precious Cargo?
Precious Cargo, that's the one. Yeah. That's the other one that you could probably lean up against as a like reflavor that and do a little tweaking to it to make a Nomad campaign starting point. You could do some fun stuff with that.
When it comes to travel, though, I guess hopefully at some point down the road we get maybe a little bit more of an understanding of how far travel could possibly work, but I like from the way I've taken it, add like an extra 1 or 2 days, like compare what we would have like current day, because like from Morro Bay, where Night City is, to Portland, you could get there in a day. You could get there maybe less than a day, following following the interstate out.
It's probably because I believe that at the start of Cleanup Crew, they describe what would have taken like 12 hours before now takes 2 days, because you need to stop to rest halfway through. So it probably takes roughly double the time that it normally would, roughly, in terms of drive time to get where you're going. Because the other thing you have to remember is that right now we live in a time where the interstate system is being, funded and helped to be maintained, at least theoretically, by the federal government and funding and stuff like that. That all gets fed in. The moment that you loosen the way that framework works, which by the time of the red, we have the liberated territories that, like, basically if you're east of the Mississippi, you are just west of the Mississippi. Once you be on that line, you're out of Boswash. Everything is independent. The roads are not going to be as well maintained. They're going to be a little rougher. So you need to spend more time, and it's got to be like more caretaken. So that sort of stuff.
Because, like, for example, driving from Morro Bay to here close to home, Phoenix, would take about 9 hours, 18 minutes. It would take, I would say no less than, because of having to get through LA and that wild urban hellscape. Or if you try to pass through the Mojave Preserve, you're probably looking at a week's worth of travel.
Yeah.
Safe to get there. So, just if anyone asks why so long, there's no one to maintain the roads, no one to maintain the bridges.
Well, and the other really cool thing that we also have that you could honestly pretty easily retexture to a more road-based campaign is the Night City weather DLC. Because while the temperature ranges and stuff for Night City are going to be very geographic, obviously, in terms of like, this is just for this part of the world, weather effects and things like that are something you could easily be rolling on and just reflavoring the ones that no longer make sense. So like maybe instead of a sandstorm, you have a blizzard, right? Like if you're getting into a colder area, or perhaps you have a higher chance of like severe thunderstorms being a thing, like if you're going over the Midwest. That's
hail.
Yeah, hail becomes a thing. Yeah.
Must have bulletproof glass or else.
Yeah, for those of you who have do not live in the U.S. and have not seen what the hell Midwest storms can look like,
softball-sized hail.
I highly encourage you go check out some of the tornado chasers out there. There's some really good footage out there if you look for it, of these guys that drive out in what are effectively tanks, because it's the only way you are like surviving any of this hail with your car intact and your glass not shattered everywhere. Because yeah, if you see these guys going out there in like just regular SUVs and stuff, almost all of them after these big storms are just full of cracks in their windshield and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Utterly insane. So yeah, you can retexture that Night City weather DLC though to easily, just at the very least, get road weather conditions. And then also a way you could do this, if I were the GM running a table like that, what I would just do is see like climatically how different are the average temps for the place I'm going versus like Morro Bay. And just start using that to maybe recalibrate the temperature scaling for those roll tables. Like, if I really want to get deep into it, again, that's going to really matter on like how into the weeds you want to get with your campaign. But if you want it to matter, that's the way you make it matter.
Also, part of road stories will include facing challenges. Like there is likely still wildlife out there. Maybe not quite as easy to find, maybe a lot harder to catch. You still got to eat.
Yeah.
Part of some of these adventures is not so much, okay, do this for money. It's, all right, we need to get this figured out. Find this. Perhaps you have a very strange encounter in town, and then suddenly members of your pack have gone missing. You got to figure out what the locals have done. And then lo and behold, the locals happen to be very, very, reverent to some angry god they call the sun or whatever.
Yeah.
I care to think Phoenix, is just like...
Well,
somewhere out in, like, western Arizona, just a dinky reclaimer town that's just been taken over by a cult.
Well, it's important to remember, and I don't, it's not even so much remember as it is, Robert, one of my friends that Diamond has met before, he was creating a whole, like, Mad Max-esque Phoenix setting for the Time of the Red. I don't know how far he ever got with it, because I know he got a new job not long after he kind of started to really think about that. But he was coming up with like where all the battle lines would be drawn in the area for like different clans, different kind of like groups that had their own objectives and agendas. And that like the center of Phoenix was really the only thing that had any like semblance of corporate control anymore. It was an interesting idea, and I like the idea of other localities that are not the California coast for Cyberpunk. But when I think about how much work went in to making even just the core rulebook descriptions and depictions of the various areas of Night City feel good, and think about needing to do all that prep work to build a separate setting within like my table or at my table, my head spins and I want to stop almost as soon as I begin, because it's just there's a lot there. Like if you want to match that quality or texture it in a way that feels right, there's a lot that goes into that. Some have tried it, and I commend them, because I don't have the time or the focus to like really do that. Like closest I'll get is like a template for a campaign, like the way Daggerheart does its stuff. But like that, I can't do whole localities, like building those out without a significant investment of time and thought, and that is something I'm in very short supply of.
So, of course, taking into consideration the weather, but stories to be told on the road, because yes, part of road stories you are traveling, and like Societal Danger had mentioned, not all nomad clans are going to be friendly out there. There might be members of, well, I don't know if they'd so much be members of Snake Nations, but you encounter little Rapid Shiv packs around Night City, right? But that's because Night City is a hub of three or four major nomad
There are
families
there are at least three, because we know Thelis, and I
Jodes
believe
and
the Jodes and the Aldecaldos. We know the Aldecaldos are like very prevalent there.
Folk Nation is also present in the area as well. Because of cleanup crew.
I guess, yeah, you're right about that. Because is it a folk convoy that you join?
Yes.
Oh,
yep, they're Folk Nation.
I had thought that they were Jodes or something. Okay, no. I clearly have not read that campaign or that adventure.
Weird little details.
Yeah, it's the minutia.
And then also, like in somewhere in Hope Reborn, they also mentioned there's like a smaller nomad pack that uses like one of the location you guys encounter as a way station as well.
Yeah.
So you likely Snake Nation is Snake Nation's like a loose bunch of packs that just kind of form Snake Nation.
Yeah. Well, in Culture, Flotsam is more just like a place. That's more of a locality, and that's mostly like a gathering point for Thelis nomads than it is for much other stuff.
A hive of scum and villainy, if you would.
You're not wrong.
It's kind of a fucked up Limsa Limenza if you really think about it. It's like even perfectly right on the west side of the map too.
It's like a fucked up Limsa Limensa, which is basically just Limsa Limensa if you think about it.
That is also ran by an older woman who has no issue shooting people. That being said, some of the things that you should think about when you're doing encounters out on the road is, do you encounter other nomad packs? Do you guys get into road combat? Does it turn into a chase? Are you guys moving something that nomad pack wants? Is a corporation following you out there? Would a corporation follow you out there?
Yeah. And I think like the other thing to consider as well is what do your environments end up looking like? Because we see a lot of like, the barren wasteland and like kind of like high desert scrubland that is most of Night City's locality in 2077. I need to look and see. I don't believe that's the way Morro Bay is right now, or the areas outside it. I believe
Morro Bay is very developed.
Well, Morro Bay itself is very developed, but the wilderness nearby isn't that either.
Well, I got it pulled up. It's very green and brown around Morro Bay. Very, very
green usually means it's like forested. So that would mean in the 50 or so years that separate that climate change has really done a number on the local ecosystem.
Yeah. And me coming from like the rural heartland, of course, Continental Brands and whoever and Petrochem and Savoil will have likely snatched up everything out of the heartland.
Right.
Reservations gone. Small farm towns gone. Probably replaced by worker towns where the few people that are there to maintain the machinery live.
Well, and then there's also going to be big complexes similar to the one we see in 2077, just kind of south of the city, where you've got all of those greenhouses and stuff like that. You can bet your ass that in the Midwest, complexes like that are going to be even larger and even more varied. Like, that's just what can work in Night City's area. The moment you get into a place that is more arable and that is more prone to allowing to grow things, you could probably get those things. They would probably end up looking almost like small cities unto themselves. Like, think about, and I hate this comparison, but it's probably very apt. If any of you have seen the scale of AI data centers when they've been installed in these small rural areas that before that had like nothing for miles, the AI data center ends up looking like a city unto itself. That's what the agro farms are looking like in the time of the red. They're massive complexes.
I imagine like my birth state of Iowa, and like I grew up in Nebraska. A small town would have been raised, and
easily.
It's just farmland to grow wheat for choo-choo, or complexes to grow animals for the wealthy, or insects for scop.
Yep. Well, and we know like some small towns may have survived, but they are no more than way stations essentially for convoys. Yeah. So like if you aren't on a major thoroughfare that a nomad clan uses, your little city or little town probably just dried up and disappeared.
And places like Kansas City would still be like major hubs for a lot of those nations and corporations as well to have influence in those spots. In fact, I think like back in Cyberpunk 2020, Kansas City is like a major nomad hub.
Yeah. Well, and it would make sense given that it's right there on the Mississippi. Like that checks out in a big way. But yeah, it's one of those things where like, especially now with the way that the world is fractured, that would be equally important because that's your gateway between East and West in a lot of ways. So it's very much like without that, you don't really get the connection. That is like a giant crossroads where a lot of things can kind of come together. And sure, I'm sure there are like other cities or towns that are probably similar to that, but I would definitely think that'd be one of the biggest just for where it sits geographically within everything. And societal danger, says, are strange biotechnica experiments that look an awful lot like wolf been chasing you? Yeah, that's a tremendous question, especially, well, and see, this is the really haunting thing that you can do with a campaign like this. To say nothing of just the vibes being so different that you're basically getting like a weird, almost Oregon Trail style kind of adventure out of your campaign. You'll go through abandoned towns. Because, like, it's not society hasn't been here. It's society was here. And so it's going to look a lot closer to the post-apocalypse that so many people come to understand read as mistakenly. Because they assume you had this giant nuclear bomb go off in the middle of the city 20 years ago. So clearly the city is going to look like a war zone. And that's not true of the city at large. Like, the hot zone absolutely looks like that. But the broader city itself doesn't really look like that at all. But the world outside absolutely will probably have signs of that, especially in like Colorado and stuff like that, where they had rocks dropped on them. Like, it's going to look like a war zone. There's going to be places where the buildings still sit there, similar to like Rocky Ridge in 2077, but because they are much further afield and much harder to reach, there's probably still stuff there. That's probably where a lot of your land-based nomad convoys are going to find salvage worth bringing home. Like, that's where you find these big crates of stuff that was shipped there in the 20s and then never left in the years since.
And of course, you're traveling through free states. You're traveling through the NUSA. You're traveling through the Republic of Texas. And, well, I don't know why you would go to the Republic of Texas of all places. My gods. I personally would avoid that place like the fucking plague.
Yeah.
I don't know how I don't know like how the Republic of Texas was during the 20s, but anymore nowadays, that place is probably paranoid as hell.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true or not, just because they also would be a major muster point, and the meta key sits in the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah. So they may have stabilized themselves to a certain degree. The rural parts are probably, I don't know about that one, but the cities and stuff likely would still have character and culture unto themselves. And Cecile Danger points out, like, if you were looking for references, Dust Bowl towns would be a good one. If you've ever been through like mining ghost towns, I know we have plenty of those here in Arizona. Chernobyl, the town is Pripyat. If you look at Pripyat, you'll see like one of the most probably recognizable images that I feel like anyone who's looked into Chernobyl, you've seen it, is of the giant Ferris wheel that sits there. But there's like a lot of haunting imagery of Pripyat that if you look at it, you'll get a great idea for like, this is what an industrial city that was once inhabited and then was forced to move out or be pushed aside by the pressures of the outside world. That's very much what that's going to look like. That's probably actually, I would argue Pripyat would probably be the best reference for like a modernized city, because the Dust Bowl ones are all going to be quite a bit older. Same with the Gold Rush ones. But Pripyat looks very modern. Like it looks like something just ripped out of the 60s. And we still have some small towns, I would say, here in America that are more emblematic of that era than of the modern one. So that honestly would be like, if I were looking for ideas, that'd be like the first place I'd be looking.
And some of the other missions that more likely you would be going on, like if you go out to kind of like some of these small towns that have like no life, you're probably looking for stuff to take to the next night market, take to the next nomad market. And also, you're not just likely fighting other Raph and Shiv. You're fighting against the elements. You are fighting against machinery. Vehicles. This is something that I would throw in there. Vehicles are wonderful. That is, until suddenly you're running low on fuel. The engine starts smoking.
Yeah.
That, the check engine light comes on, even though everything's fine. And then suddenly now you have to find the parts to get your vehicles back up and moving.
Yeah. Well, and there's a couple of comments here. Kira mentioning something for sea nomads in particular, old abandoned sea forts and oil rigs. Google Moncel forts for examples. Yeah, that's an interesting one. The oceans are also just very dangerous because Arasaka during the war made mines that could self-replicate. So you have this weird, almost semi-gray goo scenario just kind of waiting to happen in the oceans. That is why in the 2070s we get the giant DTR cargo airships, essentially.
Yep.
Because that is safer than using the oceans and the waterways.
Literally the only ship I saw during Cyberpunk 2077 was an Arasaka ship.
Yes.
Which I'm surprised they would even trust their own minds to still do stuff like that.
To IFF correctly. Well, and it's not that there are no safe seaways. Obviously, Thelus nomads are very much a thing. And they go and salvage wrecks all the time. But it becomes this thing of like, you have to know. You have to understand what to look out for. It becomes this whole, the ocean itself, which is already enough of an obstacle to doing things, is no longer the only thing you're facing as a threat out there. There's a lot to consider out there, and obviously where well-established trade routes are concerned, there are always going to be pirates that try to exploit and victimize those sea lanes and things like that. There's also worker cities of China made specifically to keep construction workers employed. Hardly anybody lives in them, though images are hard to... images of them are actually not as hard to come by as you think. They just look like cities. That's the problem. But if you look up, there was a great documentary I watched by Stakui, I think is his name. He does the History of Everything podcast. If you look that up, you'll find him. He had an episode of that talking about China's financial problem, essentially, with that in particular, kind of at the forefront, like the idea of like tofu drag buildings and things like that. And all of that is wrapped up in, and he had some pretty great footage in there that shows these massive cities full of these like dozen-story tall apartment complexes in neat lines, but they are as empty as any ghost town. Like that, honestly, that would be a really good one if you're looking up for like, what a city would look like. Like that would probably be closer to, I'm sure like a good chunk of Chicago looks like. There was that period. I've been told by my friends and family that live up in Detroit or near it that this is no longer the case. But like, there was a period after, I'm pretty sure it was the 2008 crash that really did it, where there were whole blocks of Detroit that were abandoned. Like gangs weren't really even
penny houses.
Them. Penny houses, but also just like old buildings that were only half finished. Like there were companies that would actually go out there and use these like urban environments as paintball and airsoft arenas, and like that would be how they revitalized them, because they were like urban warfare environments that were completely abandoned otherwise. And so it's fascinating to me if you look through that, like look through some of the like urban exploration videos and photos of that time, that's another that would probably be very, very emblematic of like what 2040 Chicago looks like, because that was emptied by a plague, for those of you who have not read the lore. So yeah, Stock is such a good history. He's very, very good, and I bet a bunch of you, if you watch stuff like what we put out, you probably like content like that. So I would highly recommend him. Gangs and drug dealers started moving out of Detroit to the surrounding areas, caused a lot of problems near where you live. Yeah, I'm not shocked, honestly. Like, when people stop living there, what benefit do they have? They don't.
And as someone that comes from a lot more of the smaller town, like very, very small town experience of, you know, if you come into reclaimer towns, they might, some reclaimers might be fine with you coming through, since, you know, nomads bring business. Other reclaimer towns, because of probably other problems with nomads prior, may become very suspicious of you. Well, and
reclaimed towns by necessity, they are nomads, I thought. Like, if you're reclaiming a town, the reclaimers are nomads of a type, but they're their own kind of classification, where they're not looking to just keep traveling.
I care to think, like, while yes, it was also mentioned earlier that like packs of Snake Nation only joined Snake Nation because they did not want to join any other major. They did not want to adhere to any others. These could also be like very isolationist groups.
No, that's true. That's
such as true. Like if you were to go to Idaho during the time of the Red, like in my setting, Idaho is dealing with its own internal like fighting against fascist government stuff going on right now, despite being part of the Pacific Confederation.
Yeah, I mean,
there are towns you just don't go to.
Yeah.
Because they will shoot you on site.
Yeah. No, the moment you take central rule out of the equation, things get fucky really, really quick. And that's like a lot of those areas are struggling, because obviously there's a lot of cities and towns, I imagine, out there that are not dissimilar to the way Night City operates, where there's no centralized government really outside the city itself. Like, state government is a joke. Federal government is that no longer exists west of the Mississippi, as we discussed earlier. So like, everything gets more chaotic, everything gets more like unstable, everything gets more permissible to the wrong kinds of people.
It becomes the Wild West in some cases.
Yep, literally.
And I imagine with, you know, war-torn NUSA that you're going to encounter things out there, you know, that you might encounter drones, you might encounter other folks out there that are very paranoid.
You're gonna see some things. Yeah, no, it's very much it's very much, it's a time.
They were putting chemicals in the water that made the gators very very healthy, if you know what I mean. Biotechnica.
Yeah, you there's a lot of stories to be told out in that environment, but it requires you having a very vivid imagination, and I would argue a little bit of experience in the environments that you're trying to tell stories in, because like a lot of what I'm talking about, like if I were to run campaigns and stuff that deal with the Midwest or deal like with here in Arizona, I could probably do them justice, more or less, because I know the areas, right? But like the moment, if you want me to tell you a story about the Pacific Northwest, I've never been there. I have no idea. Like I have the very like generalized knowledge about like, this is what that area is kind of like, but that's it. Like I ain't got much beyond that. So that's where it gets tricky for me.
So, and at the end of the day, like, you might be wondering, well, what about when we reach cities? You're not staying for the city. Don't plan out the entire cities, but cities might have what you're looking for.
Right. You don't need the cities to have like all the flares of culture. If you're really telling a nomad campaign of like, we're traveling, right? You might need to plan out like one city, which is wherever you're getting to, right? Like, because your trip inevitably will have a destination in mind.
And even then,
yeah.
Are you going to be going that far into the city, or are you stopping at the camp in that city and maybe in the nearby district?
Right. Well, and arguably, if you start your journey elsewhere and are coming to Night City, that side of the journey is already done for you. Like, that's maybe you have to plan the origin a little out so that you have some, while you're getting ready, like maybe part of the early couple sessions is you gathering supplies and getting ready. And to do that, you need at least bare bones understanding of the origin city that you're leaving from. But that definitely simplifies that down a little more. But yeah, I would highly recommend, if you plan on doing a campaign like this, one, it's a very cool idea. It's one that I've wanted to do for some time. It's one I know, I keep trying to get my brother to GM stuff because he's way less into the weeds of RPGs than I am. But he said he wants to run a campaign because he's like very much into like the environment and environmental science and ecology, and he is also through hiked the Arizona Trail, so he has traveled north to south throughout the entire state and seen what that's like and seen why that the journey is difficult and why certain things matter on a journey like that. And so this is the sort of campaign that I've always wanted him to like really try to run, because I know of all the people I know, he's probably one of the ones that could do it best if he was really focusing into the wilderness, solely because he's been there. He's seen some things. He's experienced things. He got woken up by a bear at 3 a.m. one time. He's done shit in his life that very much flavor that with a more vivid brush than if someone like me who has less of that experience could. So yeah, it's almost like the Towns of Old D&D overworld campaigns. There's a few key features in people. Otherwise, they're blank slate. You expand if and when the players interact. Very true. Mm-hmm. And for small towns and stuff like that, that will work. Like for these smaller reclaimer towns, that will work great. Cities are just tricky because they are so much larger and they've got so much to them that if you are going to make them at any point a feature of your campaign, I would argue that you owe it to the city to flesh it out some, certainly to a deeper extent than you would like a small town. But yeah, Diamond, you were going to say something. I'm sorry.
That being said, we are coming up on the hour here, and
oh shit.
Yeah, we're like 3 minutes past. I did want to just put it out there as, you know, it is December. It is coming up on that time of year when everyone's favorite holiday is coming up, the 12 days of something mess. Mm-hmm. So I have a couple guesses, and I have to say this year, I don't have a defined guess at what it could be. But we have... Emmerron and I were kind of speculating on some possibilities.
Yeah.
One of the ones that I was thinking about right off the rip was the 12 days of Netmas. Would be a lot of fun. And it doesn't just have to be stuff for net runners. It could be more stuff to add to net architectures.
Mm-hmm. I would not mind that. I would not mind that. And that's something where like I agreed that like if we were, so it depends on how we evaluate this, right? Because if you evaluate the 12 days DLC based on like what do we need more of, net I think is arguably the thing that has been dealt the least amount of stuff in the broader scope of gear and like equipment creep as we've gotten more things. That said, I would more lean against because we are about to get a new interface book, supposedly. And I'm hoping this go around that it's not as delayed as IRV4 was, because I think it was said during the Gen Con panel that, or the Gen Con like recap, not panel, but the little post they made, that they're targeting IRV4 or IRV5 now to come out early next year, so within Q1, I believe. I am hopeful, therefore, that maybe we see some of the little doodads that we might be getting out of that a little bit early, because we've already been told like that elements of that are going to be gear for solos, gear for like doing some of that mercenary-ish sort of stuff. So I would like to propose, if we're reprising any of the 12 days, it'd be Gun Miss, but I would like War Miss, because if we are doing a like mercenary style thing there, it'd be cool to see some of that seeded on the front end. We also know that Rusted Chrome is getting now kind of split up across subsequent stuff. Some of those we were told were DLCs. So I would also accept a 12 days of Nomad Miss or Road Miss and get some of the Nomad-y stuff that we were going to get in Rusted Chrome. I would be down for that as well.
I had to gaslight myself into thinking, yeah, no, Black or Rusted Chrome is not real. What are you talking about? And then they're like, no, Rusted Chrome is real.
It is.
Now it's not real.
I mean, it conceptually was always real. The question was just what form it would come in. But look, if we're getting all this stuff anyway, I'm here for it. Because nothing's being lost. It's just where are we getting it? It's not going to be consolidated anymore. Or if it is, it's going to be consolidated in a different way. And I'm down for that, honestly. Like, hey, DLC is what makes Cyberpunk Red an excellent game. It's what's kept the game really fresh. And at times, it has been the single source of my frustration when they add a new system on top of the other ones that I already know how to GM in the middle of one of my campaigns, and suddenly I need to adjust the campaign to allow the new rules. That has always been the struggle bus of them like patching it in real time like that. But I think that I will take those trades any day.
Gecko Inc. Why? What?
What's up?
Why did we ban?
Why did we ban what?
Why did we wait? Oh, possible ban evader?
Where?
Someone on my side. Gecko, do we know when the 2070 source book is coming? Yeah, it's coming.
No,
when it gets here.
Gecko, you weren't banned. She saw something else, and she's got this bad habit of saying that out loud. Gecko, we do not know when the 2077, because it's no longer is it a source book. We've been confirmed that it is a campaign book that we are going to end up getting.
Yeah, we are getting a
but that it will have all of the rules and stuff we need to run Night City 2077 type campaigns. So yeah, we don't know when that's coming. We've, I believe, tentatively been told sometime this next year. But I don't know if we've got a tighter line on it than that.
I'm going to say 2027. Personally,
we'll see.
I will say 2027 with the way the pace has been. 2027. That's what I'm saying here. Maybe.
Well, it depends.
But it will be here when it gets here.
So it depends how the backlog of Artel stuff clears out. And I'm fine sacrificing Q&A time to do this, because that's kind of what we've been doing here. The reality of Q1, because Rob has said this repeatedly every single time he talks publicly about anything, Q1 for Artel Saurian Games is stacked. We know that Shadow Scars Core Rulebook, they got all the funds they need from the Kickstarter.
I have it.
That is coming.
PDF of it.
Yeah, so we know that is coming. The physical of that is coming. Those of us who backed it, we already have our PDF copies of the core rulebook. It's very cool, very exciting. And we know that the physical print of that is due out Q1. Fossilized Violence is starting to see some traction. We actually just saw James giving an AMA to a British media group earlier today. I forget which one. But that was happening as I was waking, or well, like it was before I woke up this morning. So Fossilized Violence we're seeing movement on that front, and we know he is very excited and
He's
like
chomping at the bit to get it out.
He cannot wait for that thing to be in the wild. And as someone who's run it at conventions over the last,
it's so much fun.
Well, over the last year or so, I can tell you confidently, the rule text is cooked on that. Like, that shit is done.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the rules text is as done as it can be. We are literally waiting on, I would imagine, art and layout at this stage of the game. And then the print, obviously. So I imagine that's probably Q1, because we've been, like, waiting on that forever. So much so that James actually ran a Fossilized Violence scenario for a small group of us himself at Gen Con this year, once everything was done. It was literally like the Last of Us volunteers that were hanging out the final night before traveling.
Yeah, when I finally got out of the hospital. Yeah, highlight of my fucking week. Yeah. But one other thought I had, because they tend to pull stuff from 2020. The other thought that I was having was, what about 12 Days of Techmas, where it is very much, we're looking at other weird, like, yes, we have Gear Miss, but like, what about other weird gadgets? Just other weird gadgets that like wouldn't normally show up in play any other way besides it's now here.
Yeah.
Like, the most corporate washed 12 days possible. Just like, instead of Santa this year, we have this.
This is 12 days of shop mess. Yeah, that could be fun. It could be like, it would be hilarious if they took our lead from last year and we're just like
Black Friday.
Well, or something kind of, that's what I'm referring to, but very much the kind of like tchotchke stuff that we kind of worked on for that. To see them do something similar would be fucking hilarious. 12 Days of Shopness would be fucking
Christmas
hilarious.
Special.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah. Are we putting out anything similar to Black Friday stuff? So, as of
probably
yet,
next year.
As of yet, we have not talked about it. And that might require more time in the oven than either of us has this year.
Yeah.
I know we started cooking some adventures last year. I know I'm still working through, so this is something I did during the last month. That before we go over to my side of things here. I've been playtesting. Diamond was actually part of the playtest. For a sinking feeling, which I wanted out in Halloween, but alas, here we are. So while it may not be Christmas themed, that I still have the goal to try and get that done by the new year. Right now, we just got through our first wave of playtesting. I just literally, like, the last couple days, finished getting the feedback for that so that I can make the edits to it before I probably run it through another round of playtests. And then it's layout, design, all that fun stuff that takes time. But the goal is to still try and have that done by the end of the month. I still think that that's possible. that is what I am currently working on. That is my big project. And I've got some other stuff boiling in the background that I'll talk about soon. Once I've got some more meat on bones that I'm working with. But yeah, there's stuff I'm working on personally, but I know Diamond and I really haven't talked much about doing like a Christmas thing this year, only because we're both really busy with other projects.
I have this thought I pitched by Emmerron, and it's just Wireheads the supplement where we're gonna sit down at some point. I'm gonna get high, watch some Mel Gibson movies, just see the branding that goes on in those, and yeah, I want to make the most discount gear that maybe you can bring into your game. It might be useful.
It might be.
But why would you buy it?
Yeah, like literally come up with like Cook a Gun Mart shopping manual almost. It could be fun.
Right.
Yeah. No, but that's kind of to update everyone on where we are with our respective stuff where that's concerned, because there are some adventures that legit we did start writing last year. Or at least
writing one this year, like
running a template.
You're on the latter half of this year, so
yeah, like so we just need time to cook them, and we have not had that time. As mentioned, the last month has been utter chaos where I'm concerned. So I've had very little time to work on projects outside of like a handful of days each week. Sometimes like a single day while I'm in an airport, waiting on a layover. That's literally been like me working this week, or this last month rather. So yeah.
All right. That being said, we're gonna go to break. Or like get ready to jump over to the second half of the episode. But if you enjoyed today's episode of Wireheads Part 1, click on the link below to go to Part 2, where we'll be talking about something Emmerron has in mind. And also stick around, because there is something very, very important that some of you have been badgering me about, and it will finally be mentioned here at the end. Don't worry. Stick around. We'll be right back.